Hello guys, welcome to this YouTube video, and today we're going to be going into a very different type of video, and that is actually Reddit horror stories. I've never done a video like this on this channel, and after a friend told me about this and he said, hey, you should try this out, I really thought about it, and today we're going to give it a try with my own twist. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'd also love if by the end of this video you guys comment and let me know what you guys think. So I'm gonna keep this intro very short so we can get straight into these horror stories for you guys, and I say let's get right into it. Story 1 is called Hitchhiking Gone Wrong by Flying Rat Sauce on Reddit. Now, this first story by this user is actually pretty disturbing and actually involves a female serial killer, which is pretty rare. So let's get on to the story. Family has a similar story, and I'm pretty sure some of you serial killer buffs out there might figure out who it is before the reveal because their story is pretty unique. When my parents were in college, they went on a road trip down to Florida. They had met through a mutual friends and were down there together, but haven't gone on a date yet. My dad and one of his friends were planning to meet my mom and some of their friends at a hotel, but they're carefree college guys and they lost track of time. It was impossible to get to the hotel on time by walking. They decided that the best solution to their problem was to hitchhike, and a car with two women picked him up. Everything seemed fine until the driver asked them if it was okay if they stopped for gas. My dad and his friend agreed it was no problem since they were making good time, and she drove into the gas station. When she then pumped her car full of gas before hopping back in and flooring it, basically stealing the gas with two hitchhikers in the back. My dad and his friend were beginning to freak out, and that's when she would pull out a gun from under her seat and ask if we're going to have a problem, or something like that. My dad and his friend shook their heads, and because what else would you do in this situation? She then drove them to the hotel and dropped them off without so much than a scratch, and they kind of thought nothing of it. Until the news started reporting on a serial killer in Florida known as Are Animatronics, and he took one look at her picture and instantly recognized her as the driver. The only reason my dad thinks she didn't straight up kill them was because they were super polite and respectful, and her victims were usually scumbag guys trying to take advantage of her. And Lean Warnos is the reason my dad got to his first date with my mom on time. I always heard of the serial killer known as Eileen Warnos, but I never actually heard the story of her. But if you don't know any background of her, she would be convicted of killing 7 men while street working. Now, she pleaded not guilty in court, saying a lot of these men assaulted her and that's why she ended up shooting them. But she is very studied just because she grew up with a lot of abuse, and a lot of people do think she snapped into killing people, which does make sense why she would not take the lives of these two in the car, because they were simply not saying nothing and being polite about it. So very interesting. I don't know who the other girl was in the car, but this was a very interesting story. Story does not have a user because it seems their account has actually been deleted, but they do go into a terrifying time when they were hiking and seemed to meet someone that was very well trying to hurt them. We do not know who this person is in this story or if they were ever convicted of any crimes, but all evidence points this person is trying to be or is a active killer, and I have no clue which one it is. I was hiking in Anderson Creek Park, Harnett County in 2021. I was mushroom hunting study purposes off trail, about 1.5 miles from the parking lot and 50 meters into a forest area from the trailhead. I was being followed by a man. The air was still and the birds stopped chirping. I turned 180 and noticed a tall, fit man, approximately 6'1", hiking boots, in trekking poles following 15 meters behind me. He dodged behind an oak tree as soon as I turned. I found this immediately disturbing, especially because their terrain did not require trekking poles, especially for a fit middle-aged man. I made him aware that I was aware of his presence, all while slowly walking down towards the trailhead. He came from behind a tree with a smile and greeted me. I exchanged, "A beautiful day. What brings you out?" His response, "I'm following footprints. May I take a look at the bottom of your foot?" This interaction was incredibly odd in my gut saying. I was open carrying and slowly placed my dominant hand towards my belt. The thought racing in my head that he was aware of my firearm was trying to find a way to disarm me. Surely, if I was dumb enough to stand on one leg to expose the bottom of my foot, he could have thrown me off balance to take advantage. I replied no, and that he could look in the soft sand where I just stepped. He crouched down and looked at the print and then smirked. He slowly raised his head and replied, "You know, there are things out here other than mushrooms that could kill you." Flight or fight kicked in instantly, and luckily a husband and wife with 3 large dogs happened to be arching over the slope 2 meters from us. He backed away and I followed back towards the parking lot. The cell signal in the park is spotty at best. I called my partner to alert them and I was in immediate danger. Then I called the local sheriff's office, however it happened to be closed and it had limited staffing on Sundays. I never went back to that park. Now, if I'm going to be also honest, I do believe this person was 100% here to harm her. I don't know why, or according to this video, I believe this person, like she said, that this person has done this more than once and believes she's gotten away with it. So I don't 100% know, but I also did look up some stuff in Creek Park, and it did show a man would be charged a few years later in 2025. A man would be charged for shooting at another person's car. That could 100% be related to something else. You never 100% know. And I do find this where I 100% think this person's intentions were 100% not good is when they were talking about, hey, there's other things in this forest that could kill you. That really, or even the footprint thing, this whole idea this person has is very strange. But I say let's get into this last story. Now, this last story we are going to talk about is by Awful Pest for Pez, and it is called Close Encounter with a Serial Killer on a Highway Stop. Now, this user does go pretty deep into the story, and it's probably the longest story in this video so far, and it is about the person who could have possibly and pretty possibly met a serial killer who was active in 2006 on a highway stop. So enough explaining what the story is about, and let's get right into it. This encounter happened in the summer of 2006 when I was 20 years old. I didn't get my driver's license until January of that year, and driving opened up so many doors for me so that I took a lot of solo road trips, friends' houses in New England and mid-Atlantic states. I also looked young for my age and was often mistaken for a high school student in my early 20s. I was driving alone on I-78 on a random July day on my way to visit my friend in southern PA. For a long weekend, her parents were away and we had the house to ourselves and were planning on drinking, hot tubbing, and watching the Planet Earth Drunk. It had just came out, and maybe run around some cornfields at night. I was so excited and had a great drive listening to good music, and it was a beautiful day for driving. Right after I crossed the border from New Jersey into Pennsylvania, I stopped at one of the first rest stops to get snacks for the last part of my drive. I have tried to figure out which rest stop this was, and I can't ID it because it was a gas station with a large mini cart. Opposite, the gas station was on the ramp back to I-78 West, and parallel to the on-ramp was a dirt road which come to play later. I was heading into the store when a man in his late 30s, early 40s approached me. He was a stocky guy, decently tall. I'm 5'1", had on a plain black tee and jeans with dark brown hair and a goatee. He had came out of a black pickup truck parked a few spaces from my car, had a super intense gaze and immediately creeped me out. He just had a crazy energy about him. I don't really get vibes from people that often, but this was so strange. He stood too close. Gaze was crazy, direct, focused. His words choice was strange, immediately set off all my alarms. He asked if I was from the area, despite my Connecticut license plate, where I was headed, and if I knew anything fun to do, because he had plans later and time to kill beforehand. He invited me to go play mini golf or watch a movie with him. I didn't answer any of his questions and declined his invitation to hang out and told him I didn't know the area and walked away towards the store. I was blown away that he asked me to go somewhere with him. It was so random and uncomfortable. As I was walking away, he actually screamed out, "You're gorgeous," and the volume and tone made my hair stand on end. It was super aggressive and inappropriate, and he startled a family walking out the store. It was so loud. I didn't turn around but went inside. He came into the store shortly after and was staring at me, so I went to use the bathroom and stayed in there for at least 10 minutes texting my friend about this creep, and when I came out he wasn't in the store anymore, so I took my time buying drinks and snacks. Sour bright crawlers and trail mix being my obligatory. Sour bright crawlers and trail mix being my road trip snack, and went out to gas up my car. I was relieved this car was gone and started thinking about the rest of the drive and getting excited to see my friend. When I pulled up to the road to get back on the highway, I heard someone honking his horn precisely. Honking his horn, and I see this creep show on the dirt road parallel to the on-ramp in his truck honking, shouting and waving at me to drive over to him. He was directly facing the gas station and had been waiting for me to pull up. I immediately freaked out and jumped back on the ramp to I-78. He pulled onto the highway after me, and I called my friend extremely scared. Drove so fast and probably dangerously. Looking back, I'm lucky that I did not get into an accident, but I didn't know what to do. He didn't follow me for that long, and I think after a few exits he pulled off. My friend and I had a backup plan. If I saw his car again, she would direct me to a police station the next town over from her house instead of going directly there and leading some freak to us. I didn't see the car again and went to my friend's, but the last hours of drive was extremely tense and anxious. I remember checking the mirrors regularly for this black pickup truck. It ended well. I got to my friend's house safely. We had a nice week, and this encounter was definitely creepy, but over the years, I didn't put much thought into it. A few years ago, 2014, I was talking with another friend who was big into serial killers and mentioned my encounter, jokingly suggesting this was a serial killer I met, and told her my experience. She was fascinated and wanted to Google active serial killers in the Pennsylvania area at the time. The first hit was for Adam Leroy Lane, and he looked almost exactly like the man I met in 2006. Obviously, it could be my mind filling in blanks, but the basic characteristics. 40s, tall but stocky, brown hair with a mustache, goatee. In the time area all matched. In my memories, he was a little bit slimmer than the pictures, and it was 2006, not 2007, when he was actually convicted of murdering women. Still an odd coincidence, and one I've never forgotten.